Now, I have other issues with Fox News. However, as far as we can tell, there's no specific leak that says the pundits and commentators, or they're not even reporters, but supposed reporters are part of the HRC campaign, even though they are a big donor to the Clinton Foundation. In fact, they donated just as much money to the Clinton Foundation as ExxonMobil had. So that gives you an idea of, and interestingly enough, Fox News is, even though they're leaking some emails that came out through the Podesta leaks, they are not, let's see, how do I want to put it? They are not that flattering towards Donald Trump now, if you notice. I'm not sure if that's for viewership or for whatever reason, but...
Well, let's discuss a little bit about why that is. I mean, their homie Bill Clinton was basically the one that lifted the antitrust legislation that let basically the large media outlets consolidate in such a manner that now, 90% of the world's media is controlled by only 5 of those. So, it's difficult to say, but if I were to, gun to my head, make a guess as to why, it's just a club, right? So they're not going to outright let one of their team players down. They just might not coerce to the extent that everybody else is.
Yes, and that was the Telecommunications Act.
Right.
That Bill Clinton signed into
I want to say
law.
1992.
I don't know off the top of my head. It was in the 90s when Bill Clinton was president.
Yeah, but this is something you can easily look up.
Now, I wonder, they have about 24 days now that they're going to have to keep up this anti-Trump rhetoric.
Right. And I think it's interesting because WikiLeaks has at least 30 days worth of material to unload.
Yeah, I just wonder how a lot of the mainstream media is going to try to, keep that under wraps without reporting on it.
Well,
That's problematic,
and I think it's
right?
interesting because you could go to Google Trends right now and type in things like Trump grope or Trump sexual assault or something like that, and then type in the word WikiLeaks, and you can overlap the queries, and basically WikiLeaks searches for WikiLeaks just overwhelmingly outnumber searches for those other things. So clearly this isn't working, but we're basically looking at an all-out media assault against Trump. And what's cool is I think that Trump is making a very good effort at making the people aware of that. Like in the debates, he pointed that out multiple times. Mm-hmm. And really Hillary Clinton couldn't counter because it is true.
Now, what I'll say about this, I'm not a Trump supporter. I am a card-carrying member of the Green Party, and I'll, in all likelihood, be voting for Jill Stein in 2016. However, as a Green Party member and supporter of Jill Stein, this faux media outrage against Donald Trump and his sexual indiscretions seems so hyperbolic and so purposeful that it kind of makes me want to switch and vote for Trump. And I'm saying this as an adamant third-party supporter. What that tells me is if they are trying that hard, right, and they're trying to manipulate the public view so much, and they're so in bed with Hillary Clinton, that makes me say, oh, well, they really are scared of Donald Trump, and there has to be a reason for that.
That's right.
Now, you'd say, oh, well, they're scared of Donald Trump because he'll burn the United States to the ground. Well, that's nonsense. If anything, when you really look at Hillary Clinton...
Well, and look at her track record and what she's already done.
Right. One thing that I really like about what Hillary Clinton's whole political service has been like is just repeat failures and malfeasance for 30 years, and it's as if our political system rewards corruption.
That's true.
And rewards bad behavior, and rewards destructive policies in that way.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you're really bad, you're against homosexuals, you're on the board of Walmart. Oh, here's Secretary of State.
That's right. And my perspective on it is I haven't voted, one of the party line, and by that I mean either Republican or Democrat, in 2 elections, right? So we're looking at almost a decade. Mm-hmm. But, this whole situation, there's a quote from Mark Twain that comes to mind. Whenever you find yourself on the side of the majority, it's time to reform, or pause to reflect, or whatever. So, when I have the media telling me over and over in an overt manner, I mean, this isn't just a suggestion. This isn't an unbiased thing where, maybe they let it... No, it is constant beratement for Donald Trump, and things that, we can just look at the facts, right? Okay, in 2005, 11 years ago, he made some, locker room comment, about groping a girl or whatever it was, some sexually crass. It was rude, sure. But then you look at a guy like Bill Clinton, who has actually done these things, and then the WikiLeaks, revealing the extent of the egregiousness of Hillary Clinton's behavior. And I just find it really, really interesting that they're taking these, something that I consider rather banal. I mean, it's not, at worst, it's not statesman, right? At worst, right? I mean, let's all pause to reflect and think of ourselves, right? I mean, if I was to be held by those same standards, sure, there are statements that I've made that maybe I'm not proud of, but I'm a guy, right? And I think that we can all kind of look within and see that, maybe we're human beings, we let things slip every once in a while. And actually, I like that about him, that he can be a human being and talk as one of us, right? And he's clearly, if you look at his presentation and his demeanor, he's clearly not reading from a teleprompter. He's very extemporaneous. He's speaking from the heart. And when you do that in that kind of stream of consciousness style, yeah, you do trip over your toes every once in a while.
Well, one thing that I find peculiar about this whole thing is none of these women were coming out of the woodwork, and none of these accusations were made before WikiLeaks posted what they've posted.
Right, and they happen to coincide.
Right. WikiLeaks posted what started the Podesta emails and started the leaks, and then I believe 12 hours after that is when they started going after Donald Trump from all these women coming out of the woodwork, and there was another video of him being released, right?
Yeah.
Now, granted, we've all said, revulsive things that, perhaps we shouldn't have said. Maybe we had too much to drink or whatever. And I'm not making any excuses for anything Donald Trump's done, of course. But where I draw the line with this is, and I'll say this even with respect to Bill Clinton, as long as there's nothing...
No harm done.
Well,
right?
no, not even harm. As long as there isn't anything illegal that's compromising, I'm one of those people who thinks, what a person does in their bedroom and their personal life is their business. What matters to me more is what their goals are and what they want to do as far as the platform is concerned. I think...
One thing we can agree, I think these debates, quote unquote, has spent way too much time on, this childish bantering back and forth. Oh, you said this, you're that. Whereas it really should be focusing on the issues.
Right. When you look at, and if you ask me, I think the problem with the last debate is when you look at really the big loser in the last debate, I think it was the American people.
Yeah.
Why? Because they didn't get to have qualified candidates get out there and actually discuss the real problems that we're facing and the real platforms.
Yes.
So those are the losers that actually took place in the last debate. Now, I have a question. How much of this do you think is contrived?
Contrived as in just flat out made up?
Yeah.
Well, so far, I mean, Trump has admitted that he said what he said. I just think it's interesting the extent to which they'll go to find these, what I consider rather pedantic remarks. And I think that at this point, it's a no-holds-barred, anything goes. Now, as far as the women who have accused him of, some kind of impropriety or whatever...
I don't know. Is there anything illegal that's been...
As far as I know,
charges
no, but that just makes things even murkier. I mean, how hard would it be for somebody to stand up and say, oh, he did this, he touched me inappropriately, whatever. And I say this not to trivialize those actions. Actually, it's quite the contrary. I believe that when these actions are brought up falsely, it does trivialize that, so that when there actually is an issue, it might not get the attention it deserves.
No, right. Like when people actually come out and say, oh, well, I was raped or I was molested or sexually assaulted, if there's too many people making those false accusations,
Right.
they're just going to believe everybody's been
Yeah,
crying
and,
wolf.
and it's
I've got a problem with that myself.
And it is an unfortunate circumstance of the times we live in, because if there's this much noise going on, how do you meaningfully distinguish a signal, an actual case, from the noise? People just running their mouths.
Right, and also, I see a trend here that's taking place that I think the American system and the American people should try to get away from. It's the whole idea of identity politics.
Yeah.
Right? Personal identities and personal lives really should not come into play. I mean, I would say this, for instance, if, say, Hillary Clinton is a homosexual, right? Or she's bisexual, and she's done her own philanthropy.
Just rhetorically speaking.
Well, no, there are accusations of that, certain people have made. I haven't seen anything credible, but I personally don't care.
Yeah.
I don't, as long as she's not molesting children or doing something illegal.
Well, it's the same thing about saying
I don't care.
Barack Obama is a Muslim. I mean,
I don't care.
I haven't seen anything to substantiate that, but even if it was true, I don't see that as an issue.
Yeah, I don't see that as disqualifying, and I don't see that as an issue at all. By the way, this is a little trivia. Make of it what you will. Do you know the name Barack, where that comes from?
No.
If you read the Quran, okay, which
I understand that it has that lineage, but I don't know.
Yeah. If you read the Quran, Barak was the name of the horse that Muhammad would ride, right? So when he would go village to village and doing everything that he did as a prophet in the Quran, his horse that he rode in on was named Barak. Now, that's kind of interesting, right? Because in the Quran, right, is the vehicle by which Muhammad would, prophesy what he did. So make of that what you will. I don't think it comes into play, but I just find that interesting.
Yeah.